Hi, I'm Tubin from SpeakerG.com. The closest competitor of Sonos these days is Bluesound. So should you ditch Sonos for Bluesound? Let's find out the difference between their products. I will be looking at a few of their models and comparing their price, features, looks, and of course, sound. First, let's compare Bluesound Pulse Flex 2e with the popular Sonos one. When it comes to price, Bluesound Pulse Flex 2e is usually slightly more expensive, and you can expect to pay around $100 more than for Sonos One. In terms of connectivity, Bluesound Pulse Flex 2e is a step ahead of Sonos One. It has a Type A and Type B USB port at the back, 3.5mm aux output for headphones, digital input for optical cable, and a power by pin port. It is also enabled with Bluetooth 4.1, unlike Sonos One. It also has an Ethernet port that supports RJ45 and 100 base networks. On the other hand, Sonos One just has an Ethernet port and a join button at the back. When it comes to smartness, both of them could be called equally smart. Both support Alexa, Google Assistant, AirPlay 2, and are controlled through their respective mobile apps. The only difference is the voice assistants in Sonos One are inbuilt, wherein Bluesound are optional. Was the king of multi-room functionality beaten? We guess not. Sonos allows an easy multi-room music experience, as it only requires one speaker to be in a wired connection and the rest can stay connected in a group wirelessly through their own mesh network. In Bluesound, all the speakers have to individually be in a wired or wireless connection with your home Wi-Fi router. Pulse might have an upper hand here. Sonos One is twice as heavier as Pulse Flex 2e. Also, the control panel of Pulse looks a bit more aesthetic when compared to Sonos One. Moreover, Bluesound has an IR sensor built in for controls. What if we compare the same Bluesound model to Sonos Move? Compared to Sonos One, Move has slightly more powerful and enriching sound quality. This is one of the Sonos best-sounding smart speakers, and thus is fit to use as an outdoor speaker as well. Another benefit of Sonos Move over Sonos One is that the former has Bluetooth enabled as well. In terms of pricing, Sonos Move is around $100 more expensive than Bluesound Pulse Flex 2e. For connectivity, on Sonos Move you will see a power button, a join button, and a USB-C port for the power supply. It also comes with an indoor charging base. The battery backup runs up to 11 hours. It supports Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, and has no Ethernet port. Pulse Flex 2i has more connectivity ports. For example, 2 USB ports, an Ethernet port, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, a headphone jack, and an optical in port. When it comes to weight, again, Sonos Move weighs significantly more than Bluesound Pulse Flex 2e. Look-wise, both speakers have quite a minimal and sleek design. Next up, Pulse Mini 2e and Sonos Play 5. At first look, it is difficult to distinguish between these speakers. They look a lot similar until you find their control panel on top. If we compare the price, Bluesound Pulse Mini 2e is usually slightly cheaper than Sonos Play 5. The Mini 2e has similar connectivity specifications as the Flex 2e, meaning it has 2 USB ports, 1 headphone output, an Ethernet port, 2-way Bluetooth, 3.5mm audio input, and optical input. In Play 5, you will find an Ethernet port, a join button, a power supply port, and a 3.5mm headphone jack. Talking about the overall sound quality, it totally depends on the type of sound you prefer. Play 5 can be kept both in the vertical and horizontal position, whereas Mini 2e works in the horizontal position only. Next, I will compare the best soundbars from the respective brands. Bluesound Pulse soundbar is much more affordable than Sonos Arc. You can expect to pay around $150 less. In terms of connectivity, the Pulse soundbar still beats Sonos Arc. In the Pulse soundbar, you will find an HDMI cable, optical cable, and also stereo RCA to RCA cable that allows you to connect to old TVs easily as well. The HDMI port supports ARC and ERK. Besides, there are usually 2 USB ports, an Ethernet port, an output port for subwoofers, Bluetooth, and Wi-Fi. In Sonos Arc, you will find HDMI, an optical audio port, Ethernet, Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, and no RCA cable or port. However, it does have an IR receiver sensor to sync it with the TV remote. Arc also supports HDMI-CC, unlike the Pulse soundbar. Another note, Sonos Arc supports Dolby Atmos, Pulse soundbar does not. Sonos Arc is fitted with 8 digital amplifiers, 8 elliptical woofers, 3 silk dome tweezers, true play and sound enhancement. The Bluesound Pulse soundbar is fitted with 2 tweezers, 2 woofers, 2 passive radiators, and 2 mid-range drivers. Regardless to say, Bluesound favors easy connectivity. However, when it comes to sound quality, there is none like Sonos Arc. More soundbar comparisons. Sonos Beam is a smaller soundbar and therefore is cheaper than Bluesound Pulse, an affordable soundbar for those with less room space that want to save a buck. To connect Sonos Beam to a TV, it has an HDMI and optical output port. Beam has an Ethernet port, HDMI, optical in, and a join button at the back. The Pulse soundbar is flush with every kind of connection possible. No doubt, it would be easier to connect Pulse soundbar to a TV than Sonos Beam. Sonos Beam is still powerful for its size. It is fitted with 4 woofers, 1 tweezer, 3 passive radiators, 5 digital amplifiers, and a far-field microphone. Deciding between these soundbars in terms of sound quality is always difficult. Bluesound has done a tremendous job to meet the Sonos sound quality bars. Node and Port are streaming components from respective brands. Bluesound Node is priced around $100 higher than Sonos Port. Will Sonos be able to beat Node in connectivity? Let's see. In Node, you will find 1 Ethernet port, 1 USB port, 1 HDMI port, 2 RAC audio outs, 1 subwoofer out, and much more. It also supports Bluetooth. Unlike Sonos Port, Node comes with more accessories as well. In Sonos Port, there are 2 Ethernet ports, optical digital out port, join button, audio line in port, 12V trigger, and a few more ports. If you have a Sonos ecosystem, it is advisable to go for Sonos Port. If not, Bluesound Node has a better sound quality as it has a better digital to analog converter. However, people find it difficult to use the Blue OS app. Sonos controller apps are just known to be more intuitive. Sonos Connect has been discontinued but is quite similar to Sonos Port in its purpose and features. Bluesound Node 2i is a successor of the Bluesound Node wireless streamer. The main difference between the two is that Node 2i include a USB port instead of an HDMI EARC. Sonos Connect connectivity is similar to Sonos Port. It includes 2 Ethernet ports, optical audio out port, a coaxial cable out port, and analog audio in an out port. On the other hand, at the rear of Node 2i, you will find 1 Ethernet port, 1 USB port, a subwoofer RCA out, a digital optical cable port out, and also a USB-C port. It supports Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, Alexa, Google Assistant, and AirPlay 2. Sonos Amp is Sonos' wireless streaming amplifier, whereas PowerNode 2i is Bluesound's Power Pack wireless streaming amplifier. Unless on sale, Bluesound PowerNode 2i is priced a few $100s more than Sonos Amp. Both of the devices are full-fledged with multiple connectivity options. Sonos Amp has 2 Ethernet ports, a join button, subwoofer out RCA type, speaker output connections, 100 streaming channels, AirPlay 2, and more. PowerNode 2e has 1 Ethernet port, HDMI EARC input, 2 3.5mm stereo outputs, USB Type port, 4 speaker terminals, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, Alexa, and others. Oh, and both include a control panel on top. Pulse Sub and Sonos Sub are 2 wireless subwoofers. Subwoofers are used along with soundbars to elevate the sound quality even more. Sonos Sub is usually around $200 more expensive than Pulse one. For a person who is not a big audiophile, it would be difficult for someone to tell things apart. Both sound equally good. In terms of convenience, Pulse Sub can be used both wirelessly and wired. On the other hand, the Sonos Sub is strictly wireless. Also, the Bluesound Sub can work with other speakers and soundbars as well. Thanks for watching. If you found this video useful, please subscribe to our channel and help us grow. For the full article and product links, check the description below.